You know, Matt, I turned to leading a youth group and deeply wanted there to be a vibrant music. I had one problem. I couldn't play an instrument. I was the third trumpet in a fifth grade band. Do you have any idea what the third trumpet line is in the fifth grade band? And I got kicked out of that job. So I was a little intimidated about the question of leading music or trying to facilitate music for a high school youth group. But you went right at that today with kind of addressing the concerns of youth ministers who don't think they're musical.
Yeah.
Share that with us, would you?
So my first step, whenever someone tells me I'm not musical, my response is to say, really? Are you sure? Because, there's so much kind of highly produced and tweaked, kind of unattainable music out in our world that I think we can sometimes get a sense that anything that we're capable of is just not very good, because we keep hearing all these ridiculously post-processed, those people on TV don't sound that good either until somebody's done tweaking it all. So part of it is just to go back to people and say, hold on. What do you mean you're not musical? And I think for a lot of us, there's okay, fine. I can play, five chords on the acoustic guitar. Well, that's two more than you need. You're good to go. And part of it also is to say, again, if you're feeling, if this I'm not musical is really another way of, if it is just another way of saying, boy, this feels vulnerable, then we know what we're saying about that. We're saying, hey, that's a feature, not a bug. That's good that you're feeling vulnerable. Press through it. You can model it for the kids. Tell the kids, hey, I kind of feel out on a limb here. You want to join me? We're humans. We love honesty and transparency. All right, so that's one thing. But that's not everyone. Some people are really, nope, it's not me, can't be me. Even if you encourage me to be courageous, it's still just not going to be me. For those, there are a couple of different other people and resources that can be tapped, right? So the first place to say is, if you're not musical, odds are pretty high, especially so many of these kids are in music programs. There are kids in your youth group that are musical, and they're dying to be tapped. I mean, they might be nervous about it, but inside, they're excited. They're pretty excited. By the time they've got their third guitar chord, they're ready. Coach put me in the game. They're ready for it. So, that creates an incredible kind of ministry discipleship opportunity to talk with a kid about, why are we doing worship? What's worship for? Well, it's about this encounter with God. Well, how would I do that? I don't know. I just learned how to play E minor or whatever. Well, okay. That's what a great process to go through. You might even begin by saying, well, if it's really all about encountering God, why don't we try something that we can do together? Where actually I do, as the non-musician, have a skill set that we have in common here. We can both maybe facilitate a journaling exercise. Then we can use kind of more the natural leadership development models of, first I do it and you watch, then we do it, then I lead and you help, then you lead and I help, then you do it and I watch, right? We can go through those kinds of standard steps with that sort of non-musical practice, but it's about encounter, and so we're learning to think about that, and then the music has its proper place to say, all right, now that we've done that, well, let's try doing something similar, but now we're going to use that guitar you know how to play, or that keyboard that you know how to play. I think it can be a really, really powerful experience, and so powerful for the kids to be led by one of their own, right? The other option, failing that, is there are other people in your church, not you, not your youth, but maybe other amateur musicians, or maybe even the music director in your church, right, who could be enlisted. I mean, you want to get someone who's passionate about it, who's excited about it, who has a vision for it. Our secret sauce when my wife and I were youth pastors was involving college students. We didn't know anything about youth ministry when we started, but we had a fair amount of experience in campus ministry. And so we had this kind of roster of undergraduates that would do anything we asked them to. And so we said, hey, we're taking on the youth ministry at this church. You want to come help us out? And already as married 27-year-olds or something, we were old and unrelatable in certain ways to the youth. But a 19-year-old kid, 20-year-old kid who is living in the dorms, living the college life, boy, they're the coolest person on planet Earth. And if one of them pulls out a guitar or a keyboard or something and says, let's sing, you've got a lot there. Now, there may be the odd circumstance in which we're still kind of lacking our option, and there are options to go ahead and use a resource that's a recording and to worship together with a recording being played. I think there you want to be careful about the kind of recording that you use. we're so used to, we have the steady diet of this overproduced music, we're likely to kind of go there. I think instead you'd want to look to try to find a kind of a music that sounds like something that if you were musicians in your group, you could actually produce together, right? So if it's a small group of people, which presumably that's what we're talking about here, if we don't have a musician that can be found, let's a single instrument or two instruments at the most, or maybe just voices itself. I think that can be really, really powerful and appropriate, and I think a way in. Do that for a little while, and maybe there's a youth group kid that didn't want to volunteer before, but they start to see, oh, there's something happening here and I could be a part of it. Maybe you'll scare up your volunteer that way.